What's going on, everybody? I'm back with the Real Bodybuilding Podcast. This is episode 157, and I am here with JUJIMUFU or John Call.
You call me Juji. It's fine.
Juji, where did Juji come from? Can you explain?
I made that name up when I was a 13-year-old. So I'm like, I'm almost 40 now. Yeah, it just stuck. The quick story is that I was creating a screen name for America Online. You remember that? Sure you do.
Maybe.
Maybe. Oh yeah, you're from Canada. And my old screen name was John Call 13. And I was like, I turned 14. I was like, I'm no longer 13 years old anymore. I'm 14, but I don't want to do that name change, age thing every year. So I was just like, I got to pick a cool name. So after sitting there for a half hour trying to think of a cool name, everything was taken. I didn't want numbers at the end of the name either. I was just like, I got frustrated. I was like, JUJIMUFU. It logged me in. I started talking to people online with JUJIMUFU as my moniker, and I just never bothered to fucking change it.
But how did JUJIMUFU, like, where did it come from? Did you just type in a bunch of letters?
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Yeah, I was just like, whatever the hell, just the JUJIMUFU. I don't know, just that's what it was.
And it's stuck, and it's who you are.
It's a curse, but it's great.
Juji, I wanted to talk to you, dude. You are probably the most well-rounded fitness personality I can think of. You seem to know somebody in every facet of bodybuilding, fighting, powerlifting. Like you kind of span the whole array of the fitness world. So was that planned, or is it just because you're a nice guy and you talk to as many people as possible?
The second option.
Yeah.
The second option. There's the other aspect of it as well, where I like more things than I don't. Okay. And trying different things, whether it be powerlifting or bodybuilding or acrobatics or this or that, or last few years I've dove into arm wrestling and rock climbing, and all sorts of different people have got to meet the best of the best in those different physical cultures. And I just like lots of different things. So, I tend to apply a certain type of formula for approaching things. Yeah. And I do pretty well overall in a lot of different things. So, nah.
Do you think people, like, when you want to do a collab, like, for those who don't know, Juji is on Instagram and he has 1.6 million followers. And I'm sure, I don't know how many subscribers you have on YouTube, but I know you've been doing YouTube for over a decade. So, is it easier to collab with people when you're such a big celebrity or influencer already?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just it's a social capital. People see the number and they just judge immediately based on that number. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is somebody. So it's definitely helpful.
I've never heard it put that way. Social capital.
Oh yeah, it's like
a currency.
We all have numbers in our bank account. People don't see those numbers, but we have another bank account. It's called followers, I guess you could call it, and those numbers are public. So
yeah, but I've never heard it put that way. That's interesting. It's like a currency. So, but you can buy followers, so then your currency is fake. Not that you've done that, but I'm just saying, like, how does it really mean?
It's a good question. I've never bought them myself, because, well, for a lot of reasons. One, I need to know what the actual data is, because if you're buying things and inflating that number, you don't know what's really working or not.
Yeah.
And to be exposed for having fake followers is, in my opinion, pretty embarrassing.
It's the worst of the worst, right?
That would be really bad. So it's like, I've never even bothered to try to figure out how to do it, or I have no care to. Now, I think as your accounts get larger, you accumulate bots. You can't help that. So I do have bots on my account. I don't know, they're just there, but everyone has them. It's the first post every time you make on Instagram of the cryptocurrency blurb, or the girl that's like the fake bot account thing. You know what I mean? Everyone's got those.
Yeah. Going to different avenues in the fitness world. I know some people have other interests, but you seem to take them to the end. Like, you don't just dabble in something. You seem to go all the way with any aspect that you get involved in. I noticed, like, recently obviously you've always been into bodybuilding, but now you've actually taken it to the competitive side and got into that area. And then even with, like, fighting, I noticed you did a match recently, even though you have no real training experience. So I'm like, what is it that makes you go? Because I get interested in stuff and I'm like, I get kind of crazy about it, but not to the point where what makes you go all the way to the end with these things?
Well, first of all, I have I'm fortunate to be able to work with the best in these things. So, of course, if you get to work with the best, you're going to take it seriously by default. Second of all, I just think things are kind of boring if you just scratch the surface. You got to really dig in deep and understand and learn.
Yeah.
So, for bodybuilding, since this is, a real bodybuilding podcast,
Yeah.
not a fake one,
Yeah.
uh, you know, I wanted to know more about what bodybuilders felt when they went through the full process from start to finish. And so what really started why I did the competitions I did, and I'll compete again in the future, not in 2023, but I will, but just not this year. I have other plans. In 2020, I got shredded for fun. I've been
Yeah.
shredded before, but I was like, I dieted for fun. I just wanted to look the best I could. And people are commenting on my social media, my bodybuilder friends, like Antoine's like, dude, you're a week out. What the fuck are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just fucking around over here. I'm having fun dieting. They're like,
Yeah.
you're insane. Just step on stage real quick. Like, find a show. Quick, we'll find one.
Yeah.
It was COVID year. That was 2020. So, of course, there's really nothing to do other
Yeah.
than wait until next year, which I did. And I competed in the Olympia Amateur. But I was like, sure, why not? So, I got Dorian Hamilton to coach me through that process. I wanted to follow what they do, what real bodybuilders do, who are competing, and going through that process helped me understand and learn a lot of things. I just wanted to learn and understand and just see my body, what would happen if I stepped on stage and
Mhm.
went through the full process the correct way. How
Yeah.
much better would I even look then? How
Yeah.
cool would
Yeah.
it be? So
How
that's why I did it.
how different was it getting shredded on your own with your own techniques and all that versus taking the full step into, because I've seen some people say this is all unnecessary what you're doing. I can get shredded without doing all these things. So how different was it doing it like, your style, getting ready your style, getting shredded your style versus taking the actual bodybuilding route and doing it step by step the way we do?
It's a good question. I think the main thing is I'm actually pretty good at dieting. I've always been pretty good at it. I know what I'm doing, honestly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, if I'm just getting shredded for fun and it's easy, and if you go back and look at the pictures in August, September 2020, I did look, basically almost stage ready,
Yeah.
minus what we take on the final last 2 weeks of prep. It's easier from that perspective because I'm able to manage it on a daily basis.
Hmm.
With a coach, especially a remote coach, they're busy, man. Their time's bound with a lot of other athletes. They don't know your body like you do because they're not living in it. And so you might get an update, you know, uh, up to the show, maybe 3 or 4 weeks out before then, maybe once a week or so. And then
Yeah.
if the adjustment isn't really working, you won't be able to report the data back until maybe a
That's right.
week later. You see what I'm saying? So you're
Yeah.
not able
Yeah.
to make these quicker adjustments if need be. Um, of course, as you get closer to the show, a good coach like Dorian will, that dude will message you every hour of the day if he has to. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
you have to make sure that if you're getting coached, your coach is doing that, because if they're not, probably need to find a different coach.
Yeah.
Because when
Yeah.
you're 2 weeks out, 1 week out, man, that is a daily thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So the last prep you did, so we were on the Telegram circles together,
Hmm.
and I noticed that I want to say struggle. It looked like you were struggling a little bit. Looked like you really had a tough time there the last couple weeks, and it's normal for everybody. I mean, everybody usually from 4 weeks to showtime is pretty much a struggle. But you said something at that time about it being easier the year before
Yes, it was.
or the previous prep. So what is the distinction that you could make between preps that made it so much tougher? Is it something more you were doing? Is it a different dieting strategy? Was it just because you were bigger now? Like, what is it that all of a sudden made this thing so much harder than it was?
I think the calories are just a little bit lower.
Okay.
Based on previous year, looking back, the calories were higher in 2021
Yeah.
and they were lower in 2020. And um, I think that was one of the bigger issues. My maintenance calories fill out as I track my calories every day. I write down everything. I weigh all my food still.
Yeah.
From post show to now, I'm averaging up to 6,000 calories a day. and I'm only 5 pounds over my stage weight.
How the you so this is a
I'm
genetic.
very active. I have a
Yeah,
very insane metabolism. It's very
yeah,
high. I mean,
yeah.
well, there's people who have higher metabolisms, but it's very high. It just runs higher.
Hmm.
So for the show, looking back, the calories were, I think, a lot. They weren't like a small deficit. It was at least 50% cut of what my maintenance is. So I think it was a
Wow.
little. It was hard in that aspect. So I noticed that during show day, Dorian and the days leading up to the show, Dorian and Phil Viz was also helping me. They were adding more carbs back in, and I was seeing like immediately like
Dramatic. Yeah.
dramatic improvements because I was going flat between prejudging and this and that because I competed in 2 classes this past year. I competed in open men's super heavy
Yeah.
and 35 and older as well. So.
How did you do in either class?
Well, in the men's super heavy open, I got crushed.
Okay. Good.
I mean, I got smacked. I mean, it's just like, I came in a little off, of course.
Yeah.
And then in the 35 plus, the competition wasn't as deep.
Yeah.
So I think I got second or third in that. I forget.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Also in the circles, I noticed that, like you said, you have a very active day.
Mhm.
I want to go through your day if you don't mind, because I don't know how you fit all these things in. At one point, you were telling me you took a a short form keyboard course or read something about keyboards and how to do short form so you would save time.
Yeah.
These things are all very interesting to me because I don't even think of that kind of stuff. I'm just like, I can just go through my day. When I see your day and I see my day, I'm like, my day looks very, very like scattered, whereas you seem to have all these things lined up. So what does your day look like on an average day? Obviously, you're doing so many different things. It's different all the time, but an average day being so active, what does that look like?
Um, I do some sort of activity instance is what I call it in the morning.
Okay.
Usually it just rounds out to be like a cardio.
What does
Um,
that what does that mean though? Is it different every day?
Yeah, so I wear a heart rate monitor when I do cardio, and I try not to burn up any one particular muscle group too much. So, bodybuilders that get into step mill day in, day out, they can beat up the fuck out of your legs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So most of the ones nowadays have gotten smart enough to know you're not trying to burn up a muscle group while you're doing that type of training modality. That type of training is for your vitals. It's so your blood pressure, your insulin sensitivity, your digestion, all of these things are improved so that everything else works.
Yeah.
When you're a physique athlete, who's 12 weeks out, it's also for the fat burning effect. But for the most part, for me, it's not really for the fat burning so much. I'm not doing cardio to burn fat. Yes, it does, but it's doing so by virtue of making my organs work better.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
by making my digestion better, by making my appetite, by just making everything better. It's not sit there to beat the shit out of my quads on a step mill.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the heart rate monitor, getting back to that, I figured out that if I can figure out the range I need to be at to feel the way I need to feel to get the labs to look the way they look, the way I need them to look. It doesn't matter whether I'm on a step mill, a pre-core, a skier G, or doing jumping jacks or running back and forth, just doing whatever. So I do what I called cardio ADHD, like attention deficit, but
Yeah.
it's just like hey, do this and then that and then this and then I'm going to get in the vertical leg press over here and just do that a bunch of times. Whatever I feel like doing, as long as the heart rate hits it and I hit my
Yeah.
time and I hit
Yeah.
my actually use the calories. The little apps will show you the calories, and it's
Yeah.
bogus. You're not actually burning that many calories.
Yeah.
But I've noticed it's just running a basic calculation on what your heart rate is over time. And as long as I can burn,
Yeah.
well, not burn, but as long as it reads 150 calories within a certain time frame, then like that's my cardio. So sometimes I finish cardio in 15 minutes if I'm fucking going at it. And
Hmm.
sometimes it'll take me 25 minutes tops if I'm
Yeah.
like dragging that day. But I try to hit that range.
So you don't
But that's
have,
how I start my day.
but you don't have, so a lot of, you're very different than a lot of bodybuilders this way. Bodybuilders are very, it's almost like monotonous the way we think. It's like it has to be the same thing every day. This is how it's got to be. This is most of the bodybuilders I know anyway. So I don't think I could ever do that where I was just like, because I know one day you said you were doing like cardio cleaning, like you clean your house or clean your gym really fast with like a vacuum and a broom, and I'm like, and that's cardio, and I'm like, I can't really like I
Well,
can't get
I was wearing a heart rate monitor, and I was like, I was out of breath. I'm sitting there panting. I'm doubled over. Because I'm just like I'm going at it. But hey, you know what? The room is clean after 20 minutes.
I
Killed two
just,
birds with one stone.
it's such a different thought process though than, it's such an outside the box way to think. But I feel like that's a common theme with you, is like you're very outside the box. You do things kind of like your own way in a lot of ways. So I just I find that very interesting, because I'm very traditional in my thinking. Like it's supposed to be this way. So when I find somebody who just says, no, you can do all these other things, I'm like, oh, it's really interesting. So after the cardio cleaning and after whatever modality you end up doing, what is the next step of your day?
That's just going to be meal one. You know,
Yeah.
you do meal one. You know, usually I like to sit. Lately, I've been sitting and eating outside because I've been watching. I get I don't know about you, but man, the Huberman stuff just keeps bombarding me. It's like, okay, I get it. I get it. You got to wake up and you got to stare at the sun with your eyeballs like this for 5 minutes to start your day. It's like I've been influenced. You know, I have been influenced. So I eat my breakfast staring at the sun. Like,
is it working?
it's not working. Let's put it that
What's
way.
Explain to people who don't know who Huberman is. So he's a scientist, but he says staring at the sun is supposed to make you happier.
It does something about, you have to do it really early in the day if you can. So you basically wake up, and one of the first things you do is go outside, and 5 to 10 minutes of direct sunlight in your eyes, you know, on your body, and it's supposed to reset your biorhythms, you know, at that time, so that actually helps you sleep later in the day and keeps everything like moving the way it's supposed to be. So it doesn't not work for me. I think it's good to be outside.
Have you noticed? I mean? Okay, I know being outside in the sun makes me happy, so that's I can relate to that. But have you noticed the change from not being outside?
I can't, because I can't isolate it. Yeah. Like, okay, yeah, if I'm inside all day long, I feel I'm not as happy. You're right.
Shitty.
But whether that difference is making the change, because also, you know, I went to the Swiss symposium, and I think it was at the beginning of October. I can't remember. That was a few months ago. Dr. Eric Serrano, he was a guy that worked closely with John Meadows, if you remember.
Yep.
He gave a seminar, and he spent a lot of time talking about vitamin D levels. And he was going through different labs of different patients and stuff. And my vitamin D on my lab panels is always very low. And I'm going to get back to the staring at the sun with your eyeballs thing.
It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead. No, I like this.
But my vitamin D levels are always just slightly below range, and I supplement with like 10 to 20,000 IU a day. You know, I'm like, that seems like a lot. Everything I've read is like, that's not something that, you know, is safe to take in large amounts, you know? And I asked, like, so what do I do? He says, you take more. I'm like, more? He's like, yeah. He was saying like he had some patients taking 50 to 100,000 IU a day, and it just gets them in range. I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I tried it. I started taking nearly 100,000 IU a day for a month. So exactly 1 month passes on my labs, and I check again. And after 1 month of taking that much more vitamin D, I was just very slightly above the reference range by like a couple points, like non-factor points. I was like, I had to take that much just to be at the top end of the range.
Okay. So question about that, because I have low vitamin D as well. And my doctor has told me that it's critical for kidney health as well, that your vitamin D is in range. So two questions come from that. One, first of all, for most people, how expensive is it to take 100,000 IU a day of vitamin D? Because you're probably going through a bottle every 2 or 3 days at that point.
Oh, no way. No way. Their dose super high. I mean, a bottle lasts me a long time still on Amazon. It's cheap. Yeah, it's very cheap. What I usually do is I just take the dropper. I use a liquid formula. I don't do the gel caps.
Okay.
Because the liquid formula is it's more concentrated.
Yeah.
I just take it and I just squirt it on my breakfast.
Really?
Yeah, I just squirt it in my food.
Does it change the flavor at all?
Not really. It's just 1 milliliter.
Huh. I never even thought of that, because I've been pounding back the little gel caps, and I'm like, ugh, and I just don't want to do it. I never thought about doing a liquid. But the second question that came to mind was, is it possible it's not as condensed or as great as you think it is if it's only elevating your level such a small amount?
No. I mean, it took me from below range to above range.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, there is a difference there. Now, how different do I feel having got my vitamin D in range? I mean, the only thing I can really say is like I've talked to other people about this, and they're like, "Yeah, I didn't feel any difference when I got things in range." You know, technically, it's supposed to be like increase your longevity and all this other stuff it does for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just look up, anyone can watching this podcast can look up vitamin D and see all the
Yeah.
shit it does. It does
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But I guess the only difference I can see between that and staring at the sun like in the morning like that is if January, what is it? It's the middle of January. Usually
Yeah.
I have what I would, I haven't been diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder, but usually I get pretty sad around this time of year,
Yeah.
I'm not feeling as good. So I do feel like a little bit more like levity, like it's more like a spring or summertime in mood than it is
Yeah.
in like,
Yeah.
oh God, how am I going to get through the rest of this winter? This is so depressing. I guess that's the only difference I feel, which it's something. I
Yeah.
do feel
Yeah.
better. How about that?
No, that's important. No, because I think a lot of people go through that, like the winter blues, I guess you could call it.
Hmm.
So you got a coffee there?
No, I already had two. I'll have another one after this podcast before I work out, but I just got water. Yeah. Mm.
How many coffee? I know you love your coffee. We all talk about coffee every day, and I got my Starbucks. How many coffees a day do you drink? And do you think it's detrimental?
Oh yeah, it's very detrimental. It's not
Okay.
good for me the amount I drink.
Okay.
No, no. You got to be realistic here. It's like you can't be perfect. I got my vice, and that's it. It's just like I'm going to take more caffeine than is probably necessary. No, it's definitely more than necessary, but it's probably to my detriment in terms of hypertrophy and performance and sleep. But fuck it, I don't care. Like that's the
Yeah.
one thing. Just don't fucking take that away from me. I had to get my labs looking pretty good in March, and one of the things that we did was cut out caffeine for a week to see something.
Oh no.
And I've cut out caffeine before for
Yeah.
a week when I was younger, like in my 20s, in my early 20s, Fouad. I actually didn't take pre-workout or drink coffee. I just took caffeine pills. I would
Okay.
take 200 milligram caffeine pill before I worked out and
Yep.
only before I worked out. And
Yep.
then I would take a week off every 4 or 5 weeks from caffeine. And that was not hard to take a week off of caffeine when I was, 20 years old.
Hmm.
To take a week off of caffeine in my late 30s, and I want to die. I just want to. It's like I can't take caffeine withdrawal. I'm too much of a pussy now. I can't do it.
Yeah. It's funny
So
when me and my wife met. She's a real hardcore coffee drinker, and I'm not saying that she drinks like 5 a day, but she has to have. She's one of these people that has to have one first thing in the morning.
mhm,
And it was always so frustrating to me because wherever we went, she'd be like, "Can we stop at Tim Hortons? Can we stop at
yep,
Starbucks? Can we stop?" And I'm like, "Really? Do you really?" Because I wasn't like that. And I've noticed in the last probably 4 or 5 years, I'm still trying to I'm still trying to ignore it, but my day doesn't start till I have a coffee.
mhm,
It's very strange. I've tried like, I'll wake up at 8 o'clock, and I've tried not having a coffee till 11, and I'm so not productive those first 3 hours. But
yeah.
after I have the coffee, I'm in motion. Like I can start like, emails, meetings, whatever it is, I'm ripping them off. So I don't know if it's an age thing or if it's a habitual thing where you're like, because I think doing the 200 milligrams before training is one thing because it's connected to the training.
Yeah.
But I think doing the coffee first thing in the morning with nothing attached to it makes you want, like, it connects that to your productivity. So you're like,
Well,
go ahead.
you're 100% right. I started drinking coffee when I was 25, and it was because everyone I worked with at my first job after college, it was in biotech. I noticed all these old guys kept getting up and going to the break room all the time to drink coffee. I was like, how come they get to get up and go to the break room all the time? I was like, fuck, I'm bored over here. I might not have something to do, so I started drinking coffee, and it's the ritual of it. It's just so much to it. It's like I can't just switch back to caffeine pills and just take pills
No,
and replace my coffee.
no.
It's so addicting in that respect. And
Yeah.
one of the things I did was while I worked that day job, I'd wake up. During those years, it was harder to get training in because I worked 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I would wake up at 4:12 on the dot. I figured it out. I figured out by the fucking minute, man. I'd
Yeah.
wake up at 4:12 on the dot. I'd get out of bed immediately. I had the same breakfast every day. And one of the things that got me out of bed was knowing that I could wake up and drink coffee. So it's just like I look forward to it so much that got me out of bed. And when I got out of bed, I was like, I get to drink a pot of coffee. I drink a whole pot, driving to the gym, 45 minutes in the dark, and then I'd
Yeah.
work out for 2 hours, and then I'd be at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, So it was like that got me out of bed. So it's like, what's the lesser of two evils here? You know,
Why
like
why four? See, this is one of the outside of the box things that I always attracted me to you. What or interests me about you? What is it about 412?
I'd be late for work if I didn't time it by
Other
the
than
minute. I figured it out. I knew exactly how long it took to eat the grits and eggs and the meat I had for breakfast, how long it took to brew the coffee, how long it took to drive to the gym, how long it took me to warm up for the workouts I did, how
yeah,
long it took me to shower, to eat my second breakfast
yeah.
in my car before I drive the rest of the way to work. I had it down by the minute.
But
I knew it had to be exactly 412.
but did you measure these things? Like you measured your warm up, so you knew like my warm up takes 10 minutes, my breakfast take 10 minutes. Like you measured
Yeah.
these things?
Yeah, well, yeah, I just figured it out over time. It's just like I started looking. It's like I'm going to have to cut my workout short to get to work. I don't want to do that. You know, it's like, or I'm going to have to skip a shower to get to work. So it's just like you just kind of work backwards from I'm late for work by 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I need to save 20 minutes somewhere. You know, and it just ends up that you're just shifting things around and trying to find out quicker ways to do things, and then your wake up time ends up being 412. 412 on the dot.
All right. So we kind of went way off the path here. Went from vitamin D to coffee, and I could probably talk about coffee for another half an hour because I can't figure out the ritual part of it is the part that gets me. And I'm actually you guys on the circles will be proud of me. I bought a bean blender, if that's what you call it. I don't know if that's what you call it, but
Grinder.
a bean
Yeah.
grinder. And I bought the beans and I bought a French press. And man,
Nice.
I fucking love it. It's actually like a ritual. You got to warm up the French press and you got to warm up your cup of coffee before you put the stuff in. And I'm
Oh,
like,
you know what you're doing.
well, I watched a couple YouTube videos. YouTube's
Yeah.
a wonderful thing, right? So I watched.
Pre-warming the French yeah, pre-warming the French press isn't essential, but it is correct.
Yeah.
So when you told me that you warm up the French press with hot water and dump it before you, yeah, that's the correct way. So yeah, you watch
Yeah.
some good videos. It's exactly what you're supposed to do for the proper French press.
Well, the reason I did it is because the day before, like when I first got it, I was just kind of excited to use it. So I didn't warm up the coffee cup. I didn't warm up the French press. I just made it. And then my coffee was like lukewarm.
Ugh,
I was like,
it's the worst.
that's
Don't
the
microwave
worst.
it.
That's all right. So the next day I'm like, all right, I'm gonna warm up the French press, I'm gonna warm up the cup, and I'm gonna do it right. And it was very good. Actually, I was surprised. I should have listened to you guys sooner. I saved myself a lot of money.
You know, what's
So
interesting is we could never convince Frank McGrath to brew his own coffee, and he kept complaining. He's still doing it. This is recent. This is like just a couple days ago in the Circles group. Um, he's complaining because they're not making his coffee right. He's like, "You have one job. You cannot even make my coffee right every morning." And I was like, "We're all like, just brew it yourself, dude. Just make it yourself." And then yesterday, he said he started talking about how one of the things that he does, that's one of his rituals as a human being, is he likes to get up and go for a drive in the morning.
yes.
He's got a nice car, and he just likes driving in the morning. It's one of his things that makes him feel good.
Yep.
And while he's driving, he's like, well, then I'm just going to go ahead and get a cup of coffee. So it's like, I get it now. See, in that context, it makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
you know, why you're going out and buying your coffee.
I should have explained that. I'm actually in the same exact boat. I actually love getting up. Like, even though I have the French press, I still went and got this today. But
Mhm.
it's more about the drive than it is about it's about both. But like, I like getting up, getting in my car, I go for a drive, and I don't know, it just clears my mind. So I guess I should have expressed that too. Frank makes a lot of sense. I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, these rituals, I mean, I've gone through phases in my life where it's like they're so superfluous and useless and they take so much time, but it's just like, I don't know, that's kind of what we got to have that in our life. It enriches it. You know what I mean? Just
yeah.
taking the time to make the coffee, to do it right, to, you know, instead of just taking a caffeine pill or something, it's like, you know what? I'm going to keep it. I'm going to waste 20 minutes a day on my coffee ritual, and I'm okay with it because I'm saving time elsewhere. You know, it's about the balancing the equation, but I think it's part of what makes my life. I don't know, my life. It's
This is
just fucking
gonna
making coffee.
this is gonna sound really silly, and I want to just see if you can relate to this at all, or if you've thought of this at all. The Last Samurai. You ever seen that movie?
Yes, I like it. I think the movie's good.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. So at one point in the movie, Tom Cruise is narrating and he talks about the samurai and how they do the same thing every day, and it shows them like making a pot of tea and how they make it, how they do it exactly the same way every single day, and how it has to be perfect, and they take a lot of pride in how they do everything. And I think about that sometimes when I'm going through my day and I'm like, do I take that amount of pride when I'm cooking my food or making a coffee, or like, do I have, even though I have the ritual, do I do it to that level where it's almost I respect it enough to do it perfectly? And I don't know if that thought has ever crossed your mind, or if you do that anyways, you just don't know you're doing
It probably is sometimes one or the other. So I'm gonna guess. There is. I like that. I like the fact you brought that up. That's fun. Rituals also, like, they flick switches in your brain. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They do certain things, and it's just like you've heard about the stereotype of baseball players having to wear their same socks for the whole
Yep.
season or something, stuff like that.
Yep.
I think Antoine Vaillant asked Jay Cutler in a podcast what were some of his weird rituals that he had
Yeah.
during his competitive season when he was competing bodybuilder, not retired.
Yeah.
And two things that were strange that popped up that Jay Cutler mentioned was he always had to shower before he went to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other one was he had a different workout outfit for different body parts for the week. So if he
Yeah.
trained arms, he had to wear this outfit. If he
Yeah.
trained legs, he had to wear out this outfit.
Yeah.
And I can identify with that
Yeah.
because, kind of coming back to the beginning of the conversation, I do a lot of different things. And I noticed that if I'm powerlifting, dude, I'm fucking wearing a singlet and I'm dressing like a power lifter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to feel and look like a power lifter. If I'm bodybuilding, I want to look like and feel like a bodybuilder. If I'm doing
Yeah.
acrobatics, they're going to wear what works for that activity. So I try to dress according to what the activity is. So it does make sense though.
But
It's
it's
like,
not, but just to express your thought a little bit further, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not doing it to look the part. You're doing it because it's flipping a switch.
it is, yeah,
Yeah.
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 It
Yeah.
does something. There's a reason why the culture shifted in this direction where people are wearing these type of things.
Yeah.
Not only is it most of the time it's the most functional for that activity, and that's going to give you the advantage you need, but also it is flicking the switch. It's like I'm not going to be doing 540 kicks, backflips, and butterfly twists in a fucking singlet. It's going to look
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does look weird too, but it's going to feel weird. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Same with martial arts gis.
Mhm.
When you wear gi pant, like a heavy gi, like when you're doing like going through a kata and you're like doing strikes and doing your positions, that ruffling sound of the sleeves
Yeah.
and the legs going woof, woof, that acoustic feedback is part of the experience. It's part of it's part of what it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like if you don't if you don't have the if you're not mindful enough to recognize these things in the activities you're doing, then I don't know, maybe you should be.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, going all the way back around to your day after taking in the sun, what's
Hmm.
next? Because your day,
Uh,
but just to express why I'm doing this, your day now is very different than your day would have been 10 years ago. You're freer now because your business is as successful as it is. So that's kind of why I want to go through this.
mhm.
So what is after taking in the sun?
It depends on, unfortunately, I wish it could be more like an everyday thing because if you have a daily habit, it's easier to keep. Like
Yeah.
alternating days is, but hey, you could say that and be like, hey, yeah, but most bodybuilders train legs once a week and it works fucking fine.
Mhm.
In fact, it's probably the best way to do it if you're training legs correctly as a
Yeah.
as a bodybuilder, in my opinion. But like some days, like today, is more of what I would call a management day. So it's more like communicating, emailing, reacting, responding, having a podcast conversation with you, things like that on another day. And I would start my day after cardio and eating with that type of activity and run it up to my workout, which is, right around this time of day.
Yeah.
And then, I'll run the rest of the day through until about 5 or 6 p.m. and then just continue to pick up from there. But
Mhm.
I try to keep the theme kind of the same. So on Wednesday of this week, I have it scheduled where it's more of like a creativity day where it's like I might turn my phone off
Yeah.
or I'm not responding, reacting, or, I've taken care of that on Monday and tomorrow.
Yeah.
I have it
Yeah.
scheduled for tomorrow too. This is more of a management day.
Yeah.
But on Wednesday, it's like I shut off. People will email me, message me. Hey, ain't gonna fucking get a response, dude. I'm
Really?
not here.
Yeah.
I'm in my head, and I'm creating. I'm making things. I'm I'm in that mode because
Yeah.
you can't react, respond, and communicate and shift back to being super creative and high level thinking and stuff like that, like back and forth very easily.
Okay.
So I try to like consolidate it into 24-hour blocks.
This is super interesting. Okay, so first of all, well, how did you come up with the strategy? But I want to get into the strategy in a minute, but how did you come up with the idea that you need to separate out your days? And doesn't it stress you out if, like, on a Wednesday you have meetings that or you haven't planned meetings, but let's say you have a bunch of emails come in, it doesn't stress you out that you haven't checked them at all? Like, the whole thought process is very interesting to me, but how did you decide to just be like, no, this day is for this day is for this, and I'm sticking to it?
I think there's a level of resoluteness you have to have when you're actually going through the actions in the present moment. So what I mean by that is I make sure that I get everything responded to today. You know, like
Mhm.
I don't fucking like you have to be disciplined and you have to work very hard. Like, no, I'm fucking clearing the shit.
Yeah,
That way, when tomorrow comes, anything that comes in, you know, it's like it's been less than 24 hours. They can fucking wait, man.
yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, yeah, important people can still probably reach me. Yeah,
yeah,
not probably they can still reach me,
yeah,
but it's like that is like it doesn't have to be perfect. If only 5 or 10% of the people reaching you, and those are the people that are important to you, then the other, you know, that's still like only 5 or 10% distraction instead of like, oh my God, the world is coming at me, and oh, I got to answer this guy. I didn't do that yesterday. You know what I mean? It's like I fucking took care of it. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The thing I noticed was another reason why I do it this way is I was having exceedingly good results on Sunday. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like I, I, I do my own things. Like there shouldn't be days of the week for me anymore. It shouldn't really matter. You know what I mean? But why Sundays? Because everyone else has shut off on Sunday.
Okay.
I felt pretty good about it. It's like now if people are trying to reach me on Sunday, everyone kind of has this understood code. You know,
Yeah,
everyone like has this understood agreement. It's like, hey, you know what? On Sunday, for the most part, we're pretty laid back.
yeah, yeah,
So I would just not look. I'd realize, oh shit, it's been like 6 hours. Where is my phone? I don't even remember where it is. And I'd be like, wait, I've gotten so much fucking done.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I got so much done in the past 6 hours. Like I progressed this project. I wrote off all these pages. You know, I actually had layouts done for this. I had this video done. I had, you know, all these ideas came. It's like, it was amazing. I was like, well, how do I do that not more than one day a week? And that's just what I've gotten to so far for what.
So you've added Wednesday as a it's my day to think about my work and to plan.
Mm, it doesn't necessarily have to be Wednesday.
Oh,
Usually
oh,
Mondays are Mondays. I mean, they're going to be Mondays
yeah,
because that's
yeah.
when everyone pops back out of the woodwork magically to butt the shit out of me. You know, it's Monday, it's okay,
Yeah,
it's a business day, and it makes
yeah,
sense. I get it. You know, Mondays feel like Mondays to me, even though I'm my own boss. You know,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but then usually I try to get the stuff done. If I'm not going, I'm going to my warehouse tomorrow. So you know, my warehouse to work with my group. So that's going to be more of communication. But then you know, that means Wednesday is going to be the next day where I get to kind of buckle down and focus on what I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if I come back Thursday and I take a peek at things, it's like, okay, I'm pretty good. You know, I got balls. I put all the balls in everyone else's court. They
Yeah,
still haven't got back to me. Cool. You know, so some days are just kind of like I can play it by ear in the morning and see where it goes.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
other days it's just like, no, I got all that shit done yesterday, and I planned for today to be for me to make things and to create.
yeah. So I'm actually very envious of the I put my phone down for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Is that a forced habit? Like, is that something you had to teach yourself, or is that I really just don't like to touch my phone sometimes because I can't seem to leave my phone for more than 10 minutes. I got to check email, or I got to check this, or I got to check that. And it's very, uh, it's stressful for everybody. Everybody has the same stress, but I find it like it's taking something away from me.
Hmm. Well, I think that's one of the biggest challenges of our generations, man, is that device right there. I'm looking to grab the device to show. It's like, oh wait, it's literally right here in front of me. I
Yeah,
think I can't
you're
grab it.
using it. Yeah.
Do I have another? Do I have another one? No, I don't. Thank God. Um, this device right here is not only the greatest tool that exists to give you the life that you want, but it's also the most destructive thing
Right.
because it will just literally eat your time away. And it's like if you actually calculate the amount of time, you know, that it can eat away, shave off here and there, it's like, but at the same time, and this is a really cool thought in my opinion.
Mm,
Well, and I think this is empowering. if you're a competitive person and you're looking for a competitive advantage that will affect everything that you do, then just know that everybody is struggling with that.
Yeah.
You, me, everybody else. And if you want to beat the competition, then you need to figure out ways to have a good hygiene with your digital consumption and output. So if you can figure out ways to manage yourself and that addiction correctly, and the addictiveness of those apps, if you can manage that, fuck, dude,
Yeah,
you're
you're
gonna
way
crush
ahead.
everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, you're way
so
ahead.
so if you really want to beat the competition, then figure out how to put your phone down and not look at it. So as a cheap trick that I do is, let's say it's a Sunday. Sunday's a perfect day because it's a good day. It's a good day to try this out on. Most people aren't bugging you as much. After the morning time, it's like you can look at your phone. Like, I don't know about you, but I'll look at it, for a couple hours there if I'm like feeling like that do loop thing, and like literally nothing's happening. So
Yeah,
now's a
yeah.
good time. Yeah. I'll literally turn it off. I'll get a timer. I'll put 2 to 6 hours on it, and I'll put a piece of paper next to it. And anytime I get the urge, like, ooh, I gotta go DM this guy. I got this funny idea, or ooh, I want to check this message, or ooh, I want to look this up, and be like, I can't. My phone is fucking turned off. Literally, there's that barrier there. You just put yourself.
Yeah.
But I'll go to that pad of paper and I'll write it down, like
That's a good idea.
what I'm going to do with my phone when I turn it back on. And you create a
Yeah.
little crumb list of things. And so when you turn your phone back on, it's more deliberate. You turn it back on and you take care of those things, and you got down everything that was actually something that you should be doing
Yeah.
with your phone when you turn it back on. And you're going to notice that, at least for me, every single time I do that, I don't want to turn it back on, because the first 30 minutes is hell. It's like I can't. I keep wanting to go. I was like, oh, the first 30
Yeah.
minutes is hell. But it's like after 30 minutes, you kind of get in the flow. You start doing things. You start noticing everything's changing, and like things are getting shit's getting done. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like I'm getting into and out of my activities without as much hesitation or procrastination. And it's just like you just feel good. It's like, and then you look at a clock. It's like, dude, it's only like 2:30. Like it feels like 4:30. Okay.
Dude, that's such a fucking good idea. I've never even thought of that. See, that's another outside the box. I never thought. No, because putting the piece of paper there is the genius part. Anybody can think of like, oh, I turn off my phone and put it aside. But
Yeah.
putting the piece of paper there to write down your ideas, now you don't feel
Hmm.
like you're actually missing out on anything. I love that. That's amazing. All right. So your creative days, what is it? Phone's off. You're sitting down at your desk or wherever you sit to think, and you're just brainstorming, or are you with your team and brainstorming? And what is your team? Like, how many employees do you have? What is JUJIMUFU's empire look like? Like, what is that?
It's actually pretty small because I try to keep a lower overhead.
Yeah.
It's just my predisposition. I don't like a lot of bloat in business. I don't. I go by the adage that do not hire anyone unless it hurts. Like, unless you're just dying, you don't need to hire anyone. You can figure out a better way to make the process work, or you can figure out a way to retool someone else that's already on the job to do, or just, fuck, do you even need to be selling that product? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? As crazy as that sounds, it's like, yeah, but it's money on the table. It's like, just because it's money on the table doesn't mean you need to go grab it. There's
Yeah.
money on hundreds of tables. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And also, how much fucking money do you need? You know, you know what I mean? After a while, it's just like there's some there's some things that are actually better than money. It's just like, just not all the time, but a lot of times there are. So it's just like,
Mhm.
then there's time you got to deal with. But yes, the team is smaller, and on a creative day, I typically spend most of it myself, because the problem with spending creative energy with a lot of other people is gossip, criticism towards ideas, premature criticism towards ideas, or you're super hype about an idea, and they're super skeptical or defensive, and it's just kind of like blowing the wind out of your sails. You don't get to explore it to its completion, to actually get to the point where it's like it makes sense. Like, think
Yeah.
of a bodybuilder in the off season, like 24 weeks out. It's like, what the fuck, you're fat. It's like, yeah, but just wait.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Just fucking wait.
Yeah.
Look, he's on track. It's the same with an idea. It's just like, it might be at this stage, and if you go ahead and share it now, it's like, yeah, but it's, this, and this. You haven't had time to like really think it through. Yes,
Yeah.
increment of
Yeah.
feedback along the way is pretty cool for certain ideas. But yeah, a lot of times it's more of an analytical process where I'll sit there with a whiteboard or a sheet of paper and sit there and fuck around and all things. And other times it took me a long time to get used to this idea and to accept it until I started reading in books. It's like, oh, this is a normal thing. Just
Yeah.
sitting there and staring off in the distance, dude.
Yeah.
Just like that's actually work.
Like letting your
Like,
body, letting your brain just work and function on its own. Yeah.
yeah, I'm rearranging things in my headspace and my psychic landscape here. I'm doing work up there. It's just, it looks like I'm just sitting here daydreaming, but dude, I've gotten, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
And, you know, you read about Rockefeller, the oil guy, you know,
Yeah.
everyone knows about
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Apparently he spent a lot of his time just sitting there staring off in the distance and not talking to people. And
Yeah.
when they asked him about that, he was like, I'm doing work, but
Yeah.
it's up here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it might take him 6 months to figure some shit out, but he was making the high level decisions that actually steered the company where it needed to go, the companies or whatever he had, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so even George Carlin, the comedian, was a big fan of just letting kids just fucking daydream, just like, you know, and I can reference a lot of things just to kind of almost like little scientific asterisk references here for you. But Huberman, the same guy that tells you to stare at the sun,
Yeah.
he's also distinguishing between panoramic vision and looking at this. So when we're looking at our phones all day long,
Yeah.
this is not panoramic vision. This is,
Yeah.
and just the distance that your eyeballs are focusing on something changes the way your brain like functions, the way it, you know, processes what's coming to you.
Yeah.
So if you're looking off in the distance, like far away, that panoramic vision is actually changing the type of thoughts you get. So as humans, we don't make thoughts, we're not inventing thoughts, we're thought receivers is the way the brain works. So we're receiving thoughts. You're going to receive more thoughts and more intercept more of those things if you're kind of like you change how far off in the distance you're looking. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And of
Yeah.
course, lowering your stress levels and arranging the time for that
Yeah.
so you're not stressed out thinking about, you know, oh, I didn't respond to that email as you're staring off in the sunset. It's like, yeah, that's a shitty. That sounds like a shitty
So
way to stare at the sunset.
it's almost like a form of meditation.
No, it could
It's
be.
kind
Yeah.
of, I mean, it's not because you're actively thinking about something, but in a way it is because you're alone with your thoughts.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I think that's valuable because in my own business, I always feel like a brainstorming session is me and the team.
Okay.
Obviously, I do, you know, I'll sit in my office and just think about what we can do to be better and things like that. But I feel like brainstorming is a group event, but everything you said is 100% right. When we're in that group, sometimes someone will say something or they're embarrassed to say it, so it'll barely come out. The idea won't come out properly, or like you said, the idea will come out to be shot down
Mhm.
before it's had a time to form, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's a very valuable thing I could probably use in my own business. So yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's never considered that. I always thought, because you always think two heads are better than one. So I'm like, okay, if I get together with my team, we're going to have this powerful brainstorming session and we're going to create some really good
Yeah.
things. I didn't think of the negative side of it, which was maybe your thoughts won't be formed properly or you'll have time to express what you want properly. So
I think you're right, though. It's like two heads are better than one
yeah.
sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, sometimes they are and sometimes
Yeah.
they're not. So
Yeah.
I just think um, sometimes you do it and sometimes you don't. It's just like that's good enough. You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we gotta, you know, wrestle with the concept of enough with things. Sometimes good enough is good enough, and then you don't have to worry about it. Set it and forget it. So sometimes you have brainstorming sessions with your team, and sometimes you don't. You know, but
Yeah.
that might be also why you and Frank like to drive in the morning.
Yeah.
Because when you're going for a drive, you get to look out. And I've had a lot of video ideas while I was driving, man.
Yeah.
Like some of my best video ideas. Well, shit, one of my favorite ones came. I was driving. I
Yeah.
can remember it popped in my head almost exactly as the edit took place. I did this video. It's one of my personal favorites. It was my first horse mask video where I was drinking eggs and slinging a barbell around in 100-degree weather with like this fucking kooky like screaming music thing or something. And that
Yeah.
video went nuts back in 2000. I think it was 16.
Yeah.
And I remember the road I was on, and I remember where I was going, and I was driving, and I saw that shit in my head, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm just laughing my ass off in my car by myself. Like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just like, and then that's the other thing is when you have ideas, you write them down.
Yeah.
Personal knowledge management, PKM is a new acronym. Tiago, I think Forte is the guy's name. His stuff's kind of, yeah, I got it right. Tiago Forte. His stuff in the past year has been really hitting the internet pretty hard. He's kind of hitting a nice stride there. Where he wrote a book called The Second Brain, and so it's just being able to manage information better,
Yeah.
personal information. So having a good note keeping system, having a good review system for your notes and stuff, and just it's just part of a long line of you know. I think it's David Allen's getting things done type work where it's just like just having good hygiene with your thoughts. It's just
Yeah.
like you know know how to manage your mind, not just your time, but also how to manage the things that come to your mind efficiently so that you can clear it, because brains are for having ideas, not storing them,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
receiving
Yeah.
ideas, not storing them, and just having a very quick, easy place to just throw them real quick. So when you're driving your car, going out to get your coffee, and you have this great idea, just get it down real quick. And sometimes it might be a voice recorder. Sometimes
Yeah.
it might be just parking and jotting a note, or just fuck some people like I've been guilty of it. Is just opening your note keeping app and typing it with one thumb while you drive like a jackass. Just very shorthand with a lot of misspellings. But hey,
Yeah.
when you look at it later, you'll know what it is.
I can relate to the driving thing. There are times I get on the 401. For those of you who don't know, the 401 is a major highway here in Canada. I'll get on the 401 and I'll just start driving. And sometimes it'll be like I'll be an hour from home. I've just been kind of just zoned out. There's music playing. There's not a lot of traffic. I'm on cruise control and I'm driving, but I'm not. It's like I'm not there. I don't know if you know
Yeah,
that, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
I totally can relate to that. But Juji, I find okay, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way. From looking at your Instagram or videos, I would be like, this guy's scattered. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
But from talking to you, I'm like, this guy is a masterclass in organization. So
Yeah.
is like, where did that start? Have you always been like that? Or was it like as your business grew, you're like, I got to learn? Or have you always been very meticulous in like your planning?
Both. I've always been very meticulous. It's just it's kind of what I've always been that way. I've just gotten better at it as time
Yeah.
has passed, because I don't
Yeah.
know, you just get better at things as you get older and keep doing them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, theoretically. But yeah, I've just gotten better at them. But yeah, it's just like, okay, he's this fucking crazy dude that's just kind of all over the place. He's scattered. Yeah, no, I get it. It's like it looks like that, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of thought that goes into what's going on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also, it's just like if you look, it's like my posting frequency is very strange, because sometimes it's like he'll post like every day for 5 days and he won't post for 7. It's like, what the fuck is going on? Is he organized? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's organized. He's just periodizing things. He's just, he's focusing on a block of time on this, and that means that he's not fucking worried about, like making sure reporting his position in space to his followers. It's like, hey
Yeah.
guys, I'm still here. Look,
Yeah.
I still exist. Like, I get fucking tired of doing that. So it's just like,
Yeah.
all right, well, I got things to post, and then I don't for 4 days, and then I got things to post, and then I don't for 4 days. I left myself off the hook of that.
You don't feel it doesn't make you feel guilty, because I find that if I'm not posting, I feel a level of guilt, almost like I'm not doing my job. Right.
I do, but I've gotten better at just like recognizing that it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous thing to be the feel, yeah. So it's just like
Yeah.
I just, it's like I don't know. It's just yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Um, so listen, I want to get back a little bit. You said you were working. I want to go back to work experience. How did JUJIMUFU turn into a business, and what did you do before that? And was it always your plan for this to be your life, or did it just kind of happen?
Yeah, great. I love talking about this actually. So this is good. So my first job out of college was in biotech, and I worked at this company for 7 years. We manufactured liquid dispensing equipment for the life sciences. So basically, like high throughput liquid handlers and readers for biology labs. So you can imagine a person with a pipette, for a
Yeah.
test tube. Now
Yeah.
a microplate has like 96 or 384 wells or even more of like little tiny test tubes, basically. And you got machines that just,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, dispense a reagent across and you get your test done. So this is actually how a lot of your lab tests are getting done when you send them into a lab, is a lot of them are done on machines like this. So that's kind of what I worked in for 7 years. And the thing is that as a couple years into it, I started kind of like playing by my own rules. It's like the work computer here is fucking slow, man. It's like whatever they gave me takes like 15 minutes to boot up in the morning. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just like, and the software is slow, and it's like I'm eating up so much of my time during the day. I was like, why don't I just bring my own work computer in? So I just brought my computer from home in. I was
Yeah.
like, wow, this shit's fast. I was like, wait a minute, I could do some of my work for my job at home, even though I'm not working from home. I can
Yeah.
now do some work at home. So
Yeah.
now whatever work they're giving me at work is like I'm getting done fucking fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, and then I'd have free time to, I don't know, go a little bit extra longer on my lunch break and work out for an hour and a half instead of 1 hour,
Yeah. Yeah.
or go to the break room and eat some cream of rice with some protein powder in it, um, or sit there on the computer during work hours and sit there and edit videos or something. You know what I mean? So I was building my business in the time I had freed up from the job.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it was an office job, so I understand a lot of people listening. Like some jobs, you're more physical. You're not sitting at a cubicle or a workspace or something. So I'd free up those resources to work on the other things. So I was building this up on the side just for fun, but I wasn't building it for money reasons. So I actually didn't make a dime doing anything that I was doing until 17 years of training.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? When you say
Yeah, absolutely.
when you say your build, because we're just skipping through real quick, but I want to ask,
Yeah.
so when you say I'm building up my business, what was it you were building? Were you writing ebook? Because I don't know if everybody knows, but you have ebooks and your business is actually a very wide range of things. So it's not just YouTube
Yeah.
videos.
So
So when you yeah,
one of the main things I was doing that was the first thing that took off was this book I wrote. It's Legendary Flexibility.
okay,
And I was writing, so
okay,
I'd spend time writing my book at work. And when I launched that book, and in the same month, I also launched the pants product. I was in communication with the company to manufacture the JUJIMUFU pants,
yeah,
the most flexible pants in the world. Um, when I launched those products, I made more money in 1 month. I mean, not 1 month, 1 week than an entire year at my day job. So it's just like, holy fuck. You know what I mean? I was like, what? I was like, wow, this is working. You know what I mean? So it's
yeah,
like, but the thing is, I didn't quit my job right away. I continued to work my job for, oh yeah, there we go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just
Yeah. We still
pulling
sell
this
them.
up.
Yeah.
Just
There
pulling
they
this
are.
up. Yeah, these are the most flexible pants on earth.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, bodybuilders love them too because they have no catch knees design. It's actually a special design. They have a little bit of extra room in the ham and glute area for muscular people. So they're not joggers. That's the thing. It's like, I don't know about you, but I can't stand joggers. They're too tight. They just feel weird. But I mean, Antoine loves them, and he's got gigantic fucking legs. Click on a sizing chart over there.
Okay.
Yeah, scroll down so you can see me and my dad there. We'll go down a little bit further. Go down a little bit further.
There's
There's
Antoine.
Antoine.
Yeah,
Yeah, they fit him. I
yeah,
mean, if they fit him, they're probably going to fit most of the people listening to this podcast. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
he wears an XL. I wear an XL. They're a little baggier, but they're very very flexible, very forgiving, and they feel good. You can do just about anything in them. And then the flexibility book as well is good for bodybuilders. Although I think bodybuilders are leagues ahead of other athletes in terms of flexibility development, but we could talk about that in a moment if you wish. But
So
I developed.
I'm sorry, we're taking a little detour here. I just wanted to kind of show people like all of the different things that you've kind of created.
Yeah, I write programs, and I make the world's best ammonia. It's just I just make things, man. I just
This
like.
is this has been featured on Joe Rogan's podcast. This
Yeah,
JuJiMuFu smelling salts.
yeah. If you look at my products are based in three categories, like programs, smelling salts, and pants
Yeah,
products, right?
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
wow, that's very different. It's like, yeah, I'm just scratching my own itch, man. I'm just like, I'm making things that I wanted for myself, and then I just end up selling them. That's kind of how the products that are there end up being there. It's not like I'm creating things to sell to make money. I'm creating things that I fucking wanted for myself, and I just
That's
happen to sell
amazing.
them.
I love
You
it.
know, it's the easiest way to market something when you made it for yourself and you believe in it. You know what I mean? It's
That's
like,
right.
oh, dude, I love this. You know what I mean? So when you create your own formulas for, you know, your hostile brand,
Yeah.
you're like, dude, I made this for myself. Like
That's
I
exactly,
make.
yeah. That's exactly the thought process. Is the clothing, the clothing, the formulas, all that is like, I love this. But anyway,
Mhm,
so during your work hours, you're working on ebooks.
mhm.
Take me from there.
Yeah. So when I first launched the book and the pants product, when that was fully done on my new web store, you know, and this took a while to make on the side, you know, I still worked my day job for like 4 more months. It's
Yeah.
like the income, like even though I saw that huge influx of income, I was still like, I still felt nervous about quitting the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like,
Uncertain. Yeah.
hmm. But then I sat there after 4 months of continuing to do this. You know, I sat there with a spreadsheet, a document. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to sit here and do some math, like some hardcore math. And for most of the day, I spent there like calculating the cost of wear on my tires on my car and calculating how much earlier I had to get up and my commute time. It's like all
Yeah.
these are very high level, but I got really detailed and
Yeah.
realized my day job was paying me about 35% less than the net
Yeah.
because 35% of the income I actually got net was actually taken up, eaten up by the cost of
The
having the
drive to
job in the first
work
place.
and the time and yeah, 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 yeah,
Exactly. So then I was
yeah,
like, wow, this just really doesn't make any sense anymore to keep it.
yeah,
So
yeah,
as much as, you know, the job has been good to me and I have enjoyed it and I there's nothing I could say bad about it. I did like it. I did like the people I worked with. And it
yeah,
felt like I was throwing away perfectly good money. I was like, but you know, this other thing over here, it's not, I can't take it to the next level. And that's
yeah,
the thing that I was doing my whole life, like training and fitness and physical culture. That's the thing that I would do even if I didn't get paid for it. Of
yeah,
course, that's
yeah,
going to be the thing that I'm going to focus on. So that I quit my
yeah.
day job and just started being me full time.
This is kind of this is kind of like John's story a little bit. Did you did you know John at this time or no?
I mean, of course, I've been following John since the early 2000s. I didn't know him personally at this time.
Okay,
No,
because John,
I met him for the first time a couple years after I quit my job.
yeah, because I mean, you probably know this already, knowing John so personally, that his story was, for those that don't know, was that he was working at a bank and he was started to become so successful with his training business and in programs that he was able to quit and follow his passion. So it's kind of along the same lines. I know it's interesting as I get a lot of emails from people. They're like, "Oh, I love bodybuilding and I love fitness and I love, and I want to quit my job and do it." And I always tell people John's story, which is, and this is now obviously your story too, which is build up one enough so that you can leave your job and not feel any pain.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I believe in that philosophy 100% for a lot of reasons. Another reason is because obviously, you know, you do what you do. You are Fouad full time, and all the
Yeah,
things that you've got yourself into are your projects. That is a lot of work. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And I think I'd argue the case that working a day job and working, you know, being you at the same time,
yeah,
like, is as much work as you just being you full time at the level you're at now. You
yeah,
see what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
yeah,
you need to understand the type of work it's going to take in order to do the thing that you want to do full time. And you know, the only way to sample that is to work two jobs at once, which is basically, hey, you get to work your day job and build on the side because
yeah,
you know, if you feel like you have to quit one to do the other, then I don't think you got the right mind, man. You know,
yeah,
you
yeah,
got to be able to work both at the same time to build your work capacity, to know when you have to wake up in the morning, 4:12 a.m.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
to figure out all this shit to manage yourself,
yeah,
to know that, you know, on those days where it's like, I think I need to turn off my phone today to focus on my projects. Because until you get those personal management habits built, dude, you're going to quit your day job and you're going to be a fuck off.
yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a mess. Yeah, no, but I just think it's I think it's valuable for people to understand because like you also, I want to ask your launch into your own business, like you saw that immediate success. Did a lot of that probably had to do with your YouTube following and the following you had created, or was it not?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's because before I was writing the ebook and, you know, being in conversations with people to get the products that I wanted created, developed, and shipped to me and stuff for fulfillment, I was building the Instagram. So, the first few years of working my day job, I might have been editing videos and on my lunch break filming
Yeah.
skits and stuff for Instagram to post online, and I was growing a following. So,
Hmm.
the following, if I go back in time and think about my mindset towards that, I just liked the creating the videos because it's what I've always done, but I
Yeah.
had never received this much attention for creating those videos before because me and Antoine have been making videos since the year 2000. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we used to post them on private forums and
Yeah.
just share them with our friends and stuff. So it was kind of cool on social media in 2015 when I started posting things. It's like, fuck, man, it's like got 1 million views. This is nuts. You know what I mean? I'm used to get like 3 or 4,000 views. And I
Yeah.
was okay with that because I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
still doing things that I thought were fucking cool. I was like, this is, I didn't even care. But now I was like, now I'm seeing those numbers go, holy shit. I don't know what I want to do other than just keep doing this, I guess. So I was just growing it for the hell of it.
Do you think passion can be seen in a video? Like, how can I want to try and let me try and rephrase that. If someone's watching you do something and
Uh-huh.
you're doing it because you love it, right? Or you're doing it because you're like, I think people are going to watch this. Do you think people can tell the difference?
In me or in general?
In anybody, like if somebody's doing something, because what I love about what you're saying, and the reason I'm going this direction is because I get a lot of emails from people that are like, I want to do this crazy thing and be an influencer and make money, and it's almost like they're putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
And I always try and tell people, like, just do what you love, and the sponsorships and the influencers and the money will come if you're passionate about it, right? That's kind of what I'm hearing from you is you were just doing something you love that other people happen to notice.
100%.
So I guess that's where the question arises: if someone's faking it and someone's doing it because they love it, can people see the difference when they're watching a YouTube video?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the person, and it depends on the person watching. It
Yeah.
depends on the person you're comparing it to. It also depends. I think it just depends on a lot of things. I think it just depends.
Well, I guess
How about that?
the reason. Okay, so I personally think that it can be seen.
Okay.
Okay, because like I'll use my own genre. So in the podcast space, I've noticed in the last 2 years, a lot of podcasts have popped up. Right when I
Yeah.
started, there was only a handful maybe, and now a lot of popped. And I wonder to myself, can people see that I love doing it, and that other people are doing it because it's the new thing to do? So I wonder, is there another guy out there like JUJIMUFU who's like, oh, I can do backflips and I can, but he's only doing it for views and not for passion. So I wonder, can people see that when they're watching a video?
Uh, I think it again depends on
Yeah.
how good of a liar the person is
How good of an
the
actor is, yeah.
fictitious person is.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say like some videos my passion wasn't there and I didn't did them, and some videos the passion's there, and it's just like, yeah, my audience can tell. I think
Okay.
a large portion of my audience can tell when I'm going through the motions or when I just really fucking am into something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think one of the differences though, is that even when I'm not into something as much, I'm still into it. To a
Yeah.
certain
Yeah. Yeah.
degree. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't put myself in situations anymore where it's like I really, like, really, really don't want to do this, and this isn't what I am. For the most part, I can find something in there that's like, oh, this is great, and I focus on the thing that's part of it. Like, oh, this is fucking cool. Tell me more about
Yeah.
that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So let me ask you then, since because I'm not talking about any one person. So we'll put you versus you as the example.
Okay.
In the videos that you are like really into versus the videos that you're like kind of into, but you're like unsure of it. What are the difference in views? Are you seeing a lot more views in the passionate videos or the not as passionate videos?
I'm
Or
gonna say that you're gonna see a lot more views of the ones I'm not as passionate about.
okay, I guess the reason. Okay, so the reason I'm beating this this topic to death is the kid that's out there that wants to be an influencer. I'm trying to drive the point home that I had a friend back in the day who wanted to be a bodybuilder, but he didn't really want to be a bodybuilder. He was just friends with me at a time when I was in some of the magazines, I was getting a check, and he was like, I want to do that. But I don't
Hmm.
think he didn't really want to be a bodybuilder. He just wanted the check in the magazines.
Oh God.
And yeah, and so he was
You
bodybuilding
can
for
pick something easier than bodybuilding to do that with. Fuck, man.
yeah,
Bodybuilding is
exactly.
brutal.
Exactly. So he did it for a couple of years and then he just quit. He was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And he fucked off, which was inevitable because it's such a shitty sport to do physically and mentally that you wouldn't do it unless you loved it.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just trying to drive the point home to people that you can't fake it. Like if you're going to be successful as you are at ebooks and at videos and at, you have to love what you're doing or it's not going to translate. So that's kind of where I was trying to head.
I'm gonna solidify your point with this. Have you heard of I might be butchering this, but it's called Tails theory, where it's like you see, like, you know, is it, I wish I could explain where the name comes from, but it's like heads tails, right?
Okay.
On a coin. So it's like most of the really huge successes you see from people like Jeff Bezos or I mean people that are on that level,
Yeah.
they've had like 100 failures and like one success,
Yeah.
and that one success happened to be Amazon. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jeff, I think has even been quoted to say something like, "Oh, you think the fire was a disaster, like the Amazon fire, I think it's called.
Yeah.
You think that was bad? Wait until you see some of the bigger failures I have coming up.
Yeah.
They're comfortable with failing big like that because they know it's just like it just takes one out of like 100 things to work that you do, and that's the one thing you see. So
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
that was the fucking chair split with the barbell,
Yeah.
and it just so happens that coming full circle to your story here about your friend who just wanted to check, the chair split with a barbell was something I wanted to do. Like
Yeah.
that video went viral and that's what started things off for me. But I can remember having that idea. I'm going like, okay, fuck, I have to do this before someone else does it. You know what I mean? Like I was, yeah, well, that's recent.
Yeah. I know.
Um,
Yeah. I know.
that was last Tuesday. That was last Tuesday. And the thing is, I was not planning to do that during that workout. I was training my side splits before I finished off my legs with some isolation work because I usually do mixed workouts.
Yeah.
So I was going to do that and then train my groin and my hamstrings with like leg curls and stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
But I was training my side split and I was like, fuck, it feels good. I was like, and I saw the bamboo bar in the corner. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna fucking do this. So I got the dangly weights. Now it's just a practice run because I'm actually building that capacity to do bigger chair split stunts later. Yeah, that was right after my show. It looked pretty good in my opinion. um, but yeah, I mean, I love flexibility work. I mean, it's fucking great. So it's just like I love doing that. So the things that have really been the biggest successes for me were both things I was really passionate about and things I did well. Because most of the things I do that get the most views are things I'm not as much into.
Yeah.
Doing better on average doesn't mean that that's what floats the boat. What
Sure.
often floats the boat is like that one thing,
Yeah.
and pretty much everything that ended up being the one thing, or the things that people would know me for, those are the things I was like super passionate about and that did well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you get both those combined and you fucking kill it.
Yeah. We've been on for a while, Juji. I don't know how much time you have, but if you have a little bit more time, I'd like to stay
Yeah,
on.
I love to. Yeah.
I want to go back to school. Did you go to school for biotech? Like, where did you finish college, university?
Yeah. So after high school, I was already into training pretty hardcore at that time. I loved it. I knew that's what I wanted to do. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do in college. So I was just like, I went to a college counselor. I was just like, hey, I'm into exercise, nutrition, and I don't know if I want to be an exercise physiologist or a nutritionist, but can we just set up my courses in a way to where if I change my mind in a couple years, at least I'm on that path or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what I
Yeah.
want to do. I didn't
Yeah.
know what I want to do in college. So it's just like, you're like, okay, how about just we'll set you up on a basic biology course. So I ended up getting to the point where it's like now I have to pick my specific courses for my degree. And I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a job as an exercise physiologist or this or kinesiologist. How many people need those jobs? But
Yeah.
general biology, chemistry degree, You know, I can get a lot of different things with that. So I ended up just taking the hard biology and chemistry courses, and then I got a
Yeah.
biochemistry degree. So
Okay.
that's what my BS is in biochemistry.
Hmm.
And then when I was submitting my resume places, um, a local biotech company picked it up, hired me, and then I worked there for 7 years. I didn't even know that side of the industry existed because I'm a computer geek. We're talking about
Yeah.
keyboard shortcuts earlier. You know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
good with computers and equipment and stuff. I've always been into that. So it's like, oh, this is a technology that runs biology. Okay, I get. I didn't even know that was a thing. So it's like, cool. So we're making equipment that does high throughput liquid handling for the life sciences. Okay, I get it. I didn't even know this existed. I thought I was going to be wearing a lab coat and a hood,
Yeah.
sitting there
Yeah.
processing fucking samples all day long. I was like, well, I guess I'll end up doing that and just working out inside. But instead, I was working for the biotech company, working out inside.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you have such a love for the IT, why didn't you go into IT, or is your love for bodybuilding or fitness bigger?
Well, the whole purpose I got into the IT things or like technology was to help make videos
That's
for
right.
training. So it was just another tool in my toolbox to actually further my training goals, which was to make cool videos and to do stuff like that.
Yeah. Um, I want to go further back. I want to go where I want to figure out where the thought processes come from. What was family life like?
Great. I had a
Really?
really good family. Oh yeah, I'm lucky. I'm so lucky because my parents are fucking great. I talk to them all the time. I talked to my dad last night for half hour. He's hilarious. He's a 70-year-old man who's been an stamina athlete his whole life. So
Mm.
when I got into athletics, of course, he's super supportive because
Yeah.
he's really into athletics too. So they're fantastic. I have a brother and a sister that are older than me, and yeah, family life was great, man. I had a really good family and upbringing, and um, gosh, I'm so thankful for it, you know,
So
because
you,
it really helped me out.
so you're the youngest of three.
I am, yes.
Is it a thing, or is the youngest kid always a little different? Are your brothers is your brother and sister like you? Because I feel like
Nah,
yeah,
they call me the black sheep.
that's what I'm saying, right? And I don't mean
Yeah.
that in a negative way, but if I think of my own family, if I think of I got three brothers and then a sister. So I'm the
Okay.
youngest of five. I'm the one who did the bodybuilding magazines, weird, kind of different kind of path in life, whereas they all
Uh-huh.
did more traditional jobs. Not traditional, like they're still successful, but business or whatever, right? So is your brother and sister into anything like you're doing, or are they more traditional in their work?
The second option. Yeah.
What is it about being the youngest that does that? Because I find that more often than not.
I mean, I don't know, but I'm just going to guess that the parents had time to learn how to be better parents by the third kid. And for you, you're the fifth, you said? Are
Yeah,
you the fifth?
yeah,
Yeah,
fifth,
you're the
yeah,
fifth.
yeah,
They had better times to learn how to be a better parent, but also they had the help of the siblings to raise the youngest.
yeah,
So when you have that much family, and if the parents are good and the siblings are good, then you have a really strong support system there early in life as the
yeah,
smallest one. My brother is 7 years older than me, and I think that age gap actually helped too because there's no competition there. I was like, I
yeah.
just knew like he's the boss.
That's right.
He's my big brother. He's cool. I want to hang out and watch him play video games. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
yeah,
just like
yeah,
I want to be around him in that way. I'm not there to like be the brother rivalry. There's no rivalry. It's like I
yeah, yeah,
respect my brother. I still have respect for him. He's a good guy and he works super fucking hard. And it's just like, yeah. So, but they all kind of took care of me, and I think that builds a lot of confidence in the youngest child. So
yeah.
I'm more I am more confident than everybody in my family, like in terms
Okay.
of like the risks I'm willing to take and the things I'm willing to do and the that step out of comfort zones here and there. And I think a lot of that came from just the upbringing was so strong that I
Yeah.
was given a place where it's like, dude, I feel very secure in this environment.
That's the word I was gonna use, is secure, because my in my own family. So my brother that's just older than me is 6 years older. So it's kind of like a similar situation. I had no rivalry with my brothers because they were 6, 7, and 12 years older.
Hmm.
Um, but I feel like growing up, I took a little bit from each person's personality, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And so
interesting.
that's kind of how I feel like when I think of my own personality, it's almost like a piece of each of theirs. But I also feel like maybe the youngest kid feels more secure also because if I fall, I have them to catch me, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. They're there to stand up for you and to pick up things. And, you know, if you do something wrong, they can help you before mom and dad gets home even. My question,
Yeah.
my question is, did you look at your older siblings and learn from their mistakes? Because, you know, my brother had a hard time going through college. And as I grew up, I was like, I'm not going to do that,
Yeah.
you know, but I could see like firsthand living with them was like, you know, he was there to make that mistake, so he had to learn from it. But I can learn by having the discipline to know not to do that myself. You see what I'm saying? Did you have that with your older siblings? Did you notice some of the things that they did and be like, okay, now I know that doesn't work?
Well, when it comes to my siblings, they've all been very perfect to some degree. Like they're all very, very successful. So I felt like I just had to keep up. I was like, okay, so this
Wow.
this one business, this one brother has crazy business acumen. My sister has developed a great business. My other brother is working at NBC in New York, and it's like, I'm just like, okay, what can I do to to fucking keep up and not be a failure? So it was more like just don't fucking be the loser of the family. Do something with your fucking life. So
Wow.
it was more of you know, I feel like a lot of people need to have that because I feel like we're more visual learners than anything.
Yeah.
And being so much younger than my brothers, I feel like I was able to watch them go through life, and I, instead of picking out the things they did wrong, I was able to pick out their successes and be like,
Hmm.
okay, and then not that I followed their path in any way. I wasn't an academic or anything like that, but I feel like, okay, I got to do what I can to make sure I don't disappoint the family. I don't want to be the one that, yeah. So I think that's where my pressure comes from more so.
Interesting.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I,
it's different, but still it results in something good. You
yeah,
push yourself
yeah.
and in a good way, where it's that's fucking awesome.
But I feel like I feel like that goes for a lot of people though, is when you have a visual, when you have that visual influence growing up,
Uh-huh.
you want to emulate it, right? And if you don't have that visual influence, then I feel like that's a set. Then some people either find it somewhere else, like they might find somebody online they like or something like that, or they don't find it at all, and they don't usually their level, their standard of success is lower because they didn't weren't opened up to that when they were younger. So
Yeah.
like, so when it comes to me, like watching my brother and sister, I'm like, okay, so this is what success is, and then you start to formulate your own ideas of what success is. So I don't
Yeah.
know, like you didn't get that from your brother or sister at all? Like when you thought of like, what does success mean to you? Did you see them succeed and then you thought of that? Or is it something you developed on your own?
It, I don't think I developed it on my own, but I did not get that from them. I could tell you that I use the internet like way more than they ever did. They,
Yeah.
to this day, still maybe Facebook, if that. I
Yeah.
don't know. Just
Yeah.
like barely Facebook. Like they're not online. They never have been.
Sure.
Dude, I got online in the early 2000s, and I opened my first website in 2002. And then I created my own internet community at that time. And that's when Antoine reached out to me. Like the
Yeah.
first day I opened it, I had an email from some Canadian kid, you know, saying he liked my videos. And then we're
Yeah.
swapping videos back and forth. This is before he started bodybuilding. But that visual that we're talking about, that basing things off of, like the internet for me, like early on, sharing videos, like finding things of people doing online, like holy shit, these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Like exposing myself to that, that's what kind of reset my thermostat of what success looks like how far can you take this, what is good, what is not. You know, I wasn't living in, you know, Huntsville, Alabama pool
A bubble.
anymore.
Yeah. A bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bubble. I was like, I was a world, you know, there's a
Yeah.
whole world out there. And that's what really like kind of set my standards.
Do you think there's people that see that and are crippled by it? Because I feel like you can be one
Oh
of two.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. There's one of two people. You either see it and you're like, strive to be that, or you are completely hindered by the growth of it.
Oh
The
man,
side.
but yeah, dude, this is such an interesting thought too. I want your input on this, is in particular, because for me, I feel like the internet back in the early 2000s, it was the perfect mix of community
Yeah.
and not too much.
Yeah, yeah,
So it wasn't super distracting, but you got just enough to go, oh fuck, there's some people out there, man, that
yeah,
are like they're fucking good. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But it wasn't so far like it wasn't this avalanche, this overwhelming deluge of just like, fuck, man, I suck. You know, everyone's so much happier than me. It's like now social media is just like
Yeah,
cursing people. They sit there in their phones in the shower with the hot water hitting their back, doing this for half hours. Like, fuck,
it's
dude. Like,
it's
stop
true.
that. You
It's
know,
true.
don't look
Yeah,
at your phone in bed. It's just like, but they'll drill themselves in this hole of you know, letting it get to them like they're garbage, like they're not good enough. And it's
yeah,
just like, I didn't do that. And there was no such thing as a smartphone, and it was all on a computer on shitty websites with potato quality footage. And it's like, to a certain extent, I was protected against,
yeah,
you know, having that feeling come from that experience of being exposed to it. Instead, it was a positive thing where it was like it was setting a good role or example for me because it was just enough. Now I feel like, you know, kids these days, man, they fucking have it hard because of that.
yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of things they have easier. They have a lot of tools at their disposal that they didn't have before. But that's one of the challenges they have to face is, fuck, man, they can't always feel good about themselves, you know.
Yeah.
And
They
I
almost
feel,
feel they almost feel worthless to some degree when they're being bombarded with all these successful people or
yeah,
appearingly successful anyway.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I've had friends and family approach me and just like, how come everyone looks so much better than me? I'm just like, look, this is my world. Like, they know the certain spot. You notice, like, go down their fucking feed. They're always in the same spot of the gym at the
Yeah.
same time of day. It's like right there in front, you know, in front of that garage door. It's like C-Bum's garage, for example.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
iconic. It's because it's the perfect lighting. But it's just like, I'm not, you know, taking a notch down from him in that regard. He's smart. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I would be doing the same thing. I do the same thing. I find the best lighting in the gym to post it online so that
Yeah.
things look a certain way. And because it's just, that's what you do. But a lot of people don't know the formula that goes into creating what looks like this. And then they look at it and then they look at themselves in their fucking bathroom mirror on their phone. It's like, dude, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's like, stop doing that to yourself. It's not healthy. Just understand, like,
Um, all right. So how many different things are you into? You're first of all, how was the fight? I want to ask you how get away from a little bit of deeper stuff. How was the fight? You got into a was it jujitsu? Sorry, a jujitsu match recently. Let's see if I
I
can
have
find it
zero,
here.
I have zero jujitsu experience. So that was, you know,
That's
I
why.
might have rolled twice. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, so I do
Okay.
have fighting experience in that regard. But that's a striking martial art.
Yeah.
You know, Taekwondo translates the way of the foot. It's just like 80% kicks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And now I'm doing jujitsu, which is like there's no kicks.
I'm
It's
trying
just
to
like,
find is it would it be better to go to your YouTube page or is it on your
um,
Instagram?
just go on my Instagram and go down a bit. You can find a couple pictures, I
Hang on.
guess.
Let me
Um,
just share this with
I
you.
look pretty shredded in it because it was very, you know, it's higher than that.
Oh, okay.
It's way it's way more recent. Um, but it was like a week or two after my NPC
What is
gets a
this?
banana. Just going around the ninja gym wearing a ninja banana suit or something. Yeah.
It's just crazy, man.
But
Um,
yeah, the
sorry, go.
jujitsu I rolled with Devin Larratt. He's one of the world's best arm wrestlers, so one of my favorite people. As an aside, it's pretty funny, but he's a sneaky bastard. He ate a pound of garlic the night before, so that,
No.
yeah,
Oh my
did it
God.
on purpose. He knew what he was doing, so that when we rolled together, he stunk so fucking bad. It's just I didn't know what to do other than just be like, it's like he fucking fucked me up. Yeah,
So
I just got some pictures.
so is this
Oh,
oozing?
they're
It
a little
was
bit older than that. Go down a bit.
I must have missed them. Shit.
Yeah, there's not too many of them. Right there, top right.
This one. There we go.
Yeah, it's a carousel. So just some fun pictures we had.
Looks like good technique.
Yeah, yeah, and
Oh no. Oh no. He choked
until
you. Did he
yeah,
choke you
until he
out?
choked me out. Yeah, he choked me out twice.
Did you actually tap or did you go out?
No, I had to tap because we were actually doing it. It was real. I was like,
No, I
he
know, but
couldn't choke me out.
some guys say you got to go to sleep. So you didn't go to sleep. You tapped before. before?
No, but I mean, like, I know when you're getting choked out and things are getting black and blue and your hearing starts to go away, you better start
Yeah,
to tap.
yeah. So he's arm wrestling legend, I guess you would say.
I would say he's a legend, yeah.
So
He's also getting into jujitsu this past year, is for a very cool reason, actually, very different. He's got three kids. His middle son, Auden, I think it is like 18 now or 16, and he got into jujitsu. And Devin's reason for that is just to connect with his children more. So he's actually
that's
taking
good.
jujitsu classes, and he seriously wants to like make it a regular part of the rest of his life, just so he can
Yeah,
have that connection with his son. So
yeah.
he actually had a, I don't know, 4 to 8 months experience practicing before he fucked me up.
I love that, but I love that reasoning. That's fucking amazing. A lot of I don't think a lot of
Hmm.
dads would do that, to put themselves through that just for the connection with their son. So that's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
you did that with no experience.
Uh,
How did you find it when you're actually in it? Were you like gassed out? Were you like, was it just a matter of, I don't know the technique? Were you overexerting yourself? Like, what was it actually like? Because the reason I'm asking you this is I have a private jujitsu lessons that I've purchased. Well, my wife purchased them for me for 8 months,
mhm.
and I haven't started yet because I'm scared. so, so I guess I'm asking you, what was the experience like?
I didn't know the technique. As far as being gassed out, I mean, we both do cardio.
Yeah,
You do steady state every morning. I
yeah,
think bodybuilders need to, if they're doing cardio, their cardio is better than the think they are when they translate to other sports. Everyone thinks we're always out of breath all the time. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know, man. Talking in a YouTube video for a long time puts you out of breath.
yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you better check your heart. It's like, fuck off, dude. It's just like I'm active over here, running around like a chicken with my head off, managing a video, and I'm working out in this video. It's a workout video you're watching. Of course,
yeah,
I'm gonna be out of breath when I talk, but
yeah,
like your cardio is probably like that's probably not gonna be the problem. Yeah, it's exhausting. It'll gas you out, but it's like it's nothing that you're gonna be shocked by. I don't think.
yeah. Speaking of that, you said something in the circles one day that caught my attention. You said that you had no idea, that people have no idea what it's like to do things as a bodybuilder that weighs up to 250, 300 pounds.
Yeah.
You were kind of talking about being tired.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to kind of elaborate for people. So I don't want to tell the story for you.
I love to share this info because bodybuilder fans and bodybuilders don't really see me as a bodybuilder, which is fine. I don't really care what you see me as
Yeah.
but I'm 255 pounds lean. You know what I mean? And I could tell you I've been an athlete for my whole life. So I know what it's like to be 175 pounds lean, 185 pounds lean, 205 pounds lean, 250 pounds lean. 255 pounds lean is a lot harder to exist. Like it's just harder to exist when
Yeah.
you're heavier and more muscular than when you're lighter and still muscular. It's just more tissue that needs oxygen, that needs nutrients, that has waste disposal needs. It's just there's just more going on. It's not like your kidneys grow at the same rate your fucking quads do. It's like
Yeah.
they're fixed organs. They have to do this is why bodybuilders have to be very meticulous with every fucking thing they put through their body because it's this they're walking a razor thin line. And when you get heavier, it gets harder to diet too. Because I've been super lean at leaner body weights, and I found it was a lot easier to diet when I was lighter than when I was heavier.
Yeah.
Personally,
Yeah.
it's I can't even imagine what it's like to diet at the size of you
Hmm.
or Marcus Rule or
Yeah.
fuck me,
Yeah.
that's going
Yeah.
to be hard. But yeah, just existing as a heavier person is just it's just exhausting and tiring. And it's honestly it's Fuad. I understand like why bodybuilders might come off the way they do sometimes with where people perceive that they're bullies or they're in a bad mood or something. It's because they're tired. Just give them a break, man.
Yeah.
The thing they chose is it's not a vice. It's not like drinking coffee where you can't help yourself. It's like they're doing this and they're pushing themselves out of their comfort zone because it's a path that they found for themselves to better themselves. It's something to push for. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
believe in that. I believe it's a good thing. So just, because the results of that come to be a guy that's out of breath and looks depressed doesn't mean that, he's a bad person. It just means that
Yeah.
he doesn't feel as good as jack off over here, who's judging him at,
Yeah.
at 175 pounds. You know what I mean? Who has no idea what it's like. It's way harder to be heavier.
Yeah. I had this I tend to try and defend bodybuilders all the time because people meet them at the worst times.
They
When a bodybuilder is in shape, usually that's the time they're doing an appearance or they're at an expo or something, and they're standing there all day long. They're dehydrated, they're shredded, they have no body fat, which means they're even more tired. And then I don't think people understand, if you weigh 250 plus and you're standing at a booth, but you're standing on your feet all day long, it's
do.
actually extremely tiring. And
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know what it's like. Like, I don't, last time I was 200 pounds, I was 20 years old. So I don't remember what that was like, but I'm assuming that standing around at 200 pounds is much easier than standing around at 280 pounds. So you're meeting this guy who's dead tired now at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He's been standing there since 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. And then he gets judged, and it's unfortunate. It's just an unfortunate time to meet that person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try and
No,
always go ahead.
I mean, that's true whether you're in prep or whether you're not, because when you're
Yeah.
standing at a booth all day and you have, I call it people washing, where you're just being washed with people all day long,
Yeah.
just faces, 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 thousand faces. It's just like, dude, on face number 998, you better be fucking excited to see them,
Yeah.
because if you just let your guard slip a little bit, you're just like, fuck, I really got to go pee or something. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
this guy comes up to you and he just says the wrong thing. You just take it the wrong way. And it's just like something was just a little rude about it. You could react. And then you know what that dude's going to do? He's going to go online and fucking blast. Like, I met Fouad once and he was the biggest dick in the world. And he would even give me the time of day. I asked for a
Yeah.
picture. It's just like, dude, you have no idea, man. It's,
Yeah.
it's
It's
like,
not that.
it's not
Yeah.
easy. It's just like,
Yeah.
please, like,
It's
you know,
not their fault. Like, I get it, right? If you're, and I tried to be very mindful of this year at our booth, because there was people standing in line for like 2 or 3 hours to get into the
yeah,
podcast room. So I try to be very mindful of it, even to like when they kicked us out at 5:30, I was like still trying to be on. And because I think somewhere I realized it's not the person's fault. They're meeting you at 5 o'clock.
right.
Maybe they're walking around the expo, like, oh, there's Juji's booth. I want to go meet him. It's 5 o'clock now, and you've already met 4,000 people. And so you might not have the same excitement, but that person's trying to get that one experience from you. So it's not their fault at all. But I guess what we're saying is maybe you should just be a little more understanding and not judge somebody from one meeting.
And some people
Yeah.
are. I've had people. I understand they might have been waiting in line for 2 hours, and this is why I put caps on lines. So if it's 4:30 and my line is, if things are winding down, I got about half hour to 45 minutes of people left. I'll have someone at the booth I'm working with or stand nearby go at the end of the line and face the other direction, and everyone that comes by is like, sorry, this is the end of the line.
That's a good
That
idea.
way
Yeah.
I make sure that everybody that waits in line gets to see me, because that's really not okay. If they've waited for 2 hours, then you leave.
Yeah.
That's not okay.
That's a great idea. Cause at our booth, we just, you know what? I never thought of that. We didn't do that.
Hmm.
And the Olympia Expo closed at 5 o'clock, and we
Yep.
made them let us stay till 5:30, but there had been people waiting there, and they were still waiting. And I'm like, guys, we're closed. I'm sorry. So this person must have been standing there for who knows how long. And then we just had to leave. Like, they literally like kicked us out. So I think
Yeah.
that's maybe something we'll do at the Arnold. That's a really good idea, to have somebody, try and time it so that everybody gets in. Yeah.
That's something that you can do, but also like something that, anyone listening that goes to an expo to meet someone, is just understand again what me and Fouad are saying. Like, I've had people come up to me that have been waiting for 2 hours and they'll look at me and go, I don't know how you do it. Do you need a bottle of water?
I had that
Like,
too.
you're fucking impressing me right now to have
Yeah.
this much energy for every single person that shows up. We've been standing here
Yeah.
for hours and we just see that you're just totally into it, giving everyone, we really appreciate you. Dude, oh my God. I'm like, thank you so much. It
It's,
makes me feel so good, because
yeah.
some people do recognize it.
Yeah.
So, they can do that if they're aware, but other
Yeah.
people will come up to you and they're entitled,
Yeah.
and what they say is entitled. And it just, when you're fucking tired, you do the best you can, but you're not perfect. I'm not
Yeah.
perfect. You're not perfect. And you might just be like, you just react. It's
Yeah.
just something that the guy said, just, ugh. And then they can fucking go online and they blast you.
Derek Lunsford actually told a good story about that at the Olympia meet and greet. he said that it was time for him to eat, and he's standing there. You know, they give you a chair to sit down, but he's like, I'm not going to sit down. So he would stand there and meet everybody as they're coming up, and it was time for him to eat. And he's like, I didn't want to eat. He's like, I felt bad. He's like, there's a long line. He's like, I probably had a longer line than most. And he's
Yeah.
like, I didn't want to sit down and eat. And he said, actually, some of the fans had told him, it's okay, man, you need to eat. Because I guess they overheard Hani telling him, hey, you got to sit down and eat. So I guess some of the fans that were standing closer to the front were like, hey, man, you should sit down and eat. It's time for you to eat. We can wait. And I thought that was so cool of people to understand that this guy's got a show tomorrow and that this is very important for him. And we'll step aside and let you do what you have to do. I thought that's very refreshing to hear, like those kind of stories. So
that is really cool to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. One last thing before we go. You said you were going to go on a travel tour, and you were talking to me about buying a Cadillac. You never got to test drive the Cadillac, and you didn't buy a Cadillac, to the best of my knowledge.
You know what? I test drove the Navigator, and
That's a nice truck.
I actually put a reservation on it, but unfortunately, when it came down to it kept getting pushed back in production.
Yeah.
And the whole reason for this was I don't buy anything for flashiness myself. I mean, you can look around my gym; it's pretty extravagant, but it's all business expense. It's all for business purposes. This is a glorified studio that I'm sitting in, you know.
Yeah.
So the car I had rationalized in my head. It's like, if I'm going to be traveling a lot, I need to ride in comfort, so that when I get on the other side, I can actually perform and film content without being fucking dead, you know, or just like I've been sitting in a shitty car. But when it got right down to it, I was like, I did all the calculations, and sorry, Fouad, I reneged on the contract and canceled. I still drive my fucking 10-year-old beater van over here. I just threw all that money back into the business again, and the product that's I won't see for a year. So
is that where's the thriftiness come from? Is your dad thrifty? I mean, listen,
God, yeah.
I mean, listen, your gym is not thrifty at all. You have all Panada equipment in there. It's like very, very well equipped. And I know how much that stuff costs. So, but like you said, that's more for your business. So when it comes to personal expenses, are you thrifty like that?
For the most part, I am. Now, it just depends. Like, this is a fun question because I do think about it sometimes. Like, what is actually going on up there? What, you know, I'm trying to figure out myself. If it has to do with something that's going to help me towards my goals, whether it's bodybuilding or, you know, or athletics or my business, I barely think twice about putting money down. It's like gas money. It's like, I don't look at the price of gas. Everyone pays it. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're nickel and diming gas from one gas station to the next, dude, you just need to make more money somehow. Fuck off.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean? It's like you're wasting your time comparing there. And so it's like from that standpoint, like if it's bodybuilding and I need this, then I'm gonna buy what I need. Period. If it's business and I need this, I'm going to buy what I need. If it's going to help me and I can sit there and figure out all the ways it's going to help me or further that, I'm going to buy that. You know what I mean? So, but when it comes to myself, I think the only thing I probably splurge on is probably just coffee, just nicer coffee beans. It's probably the one thing that I buy. It's just like completely superfluous. It's not thrifty. It's just like I'll pay $16 for a bag of coffee instead of 10. You know?
Okay, but I have to push back a little bit because I'm the little devil on your shoulder. What about just fun? Like, look, okay, so you're driving a beater van. What is considered a beater van? What are you driving?
A 2012 Mazda 5.
Okay. Why? You have so much money. Okay, I shouldn't say you have so much money. I don't know how much money you have, but you seem like you're comfortably successful.
Yes.
So why the 2012 minivan? I don't understand. Like, why not? What about just something you like? Like I drive a Cadillac Escalade. I don't need a Cadillac Escalade.
Yeah.
But I'm like, and I don't do it because I'm making a whole bunch of videos with it. It's literally just my own personal. I like it. It's comfortable. It's got a Super Cruise button where it can drive itself on the highway.
That was one of the reasons I wanted the nicer car, was so that when I was on a drive, I could hit a button like that and just be like, sit there and eat a fucking meal and watch the car drive itself. That sounds so dope to me, man.
But you have to still watch the road, like it, because there's a sensor right on the steering.
Your eyes up as you eat. It's like it doesn't know.
Because even if I'm drinking my coffee, if I put the coffee in front of my eyes, it'll fucking beep at me.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like you only have a certain amount of time where you can look away. It's like you can look away for like 5 seconds and then it'll like beep at you, or 3 seconds or something like that. Anyway, so I guess the question is, what about just pure enjoyment that has no benefit.
Hey man, it's like you can't say I'm not enjoying my gym equipment.
No, I mean, like when it comes to the car, right? Like if we're talking about the car, you said no, I'm not gonna spend it and keep my, but you wanted it, and so I'm
Mhm.
like, why not? What made you stop? What made you say no? It's not, you know?
I just looked at where else I could put the money, I guess, and I just,
Yeah.
that was actually, I was still in prep brain. You know, your prep brain, your shopping.
You want to buy
You know,
everything, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I think Evan Centopani said one of unless it was you, it was someone in the circles that said, when you're in prep, you don't feel secure. It might have
Yeah.
been Chris
It
Tuttle.
wasn't me.
Sorry,
That
I just
wasn't
want
me.
to give credit where credit is due. That's why I'm
Yeah.
like juggling names here.
Yeah.
When you're in prep, you don't feel secure because you're not eating enough, right? So, in order to get that kind of feeling of security, like things are okay, you start to look for other things, outlets for that, and one of them is shopping.
Yeah, I know
So
that.
you'll sit there and like, look at your fucking Amazon order history 12 weeks out. It's like it's probably kooky. It's
It's all,
probably like
yeah.
what the fuck,
Yeah.
So that was a purchase that I made like within a few days after which I didn't
Um,
commit to, but it was something I went to the dealership and test drove and was ready to do this just a couple days after I competed. So my body biology
you
was
weren't back
still.
to normal, yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
wasn't. I thought I
Yeah.
was because I
No.
had a few good meals in me for a few good days, but
No.
I was not normal, man.
It
But
takes, yeah. It
it
takes a
takes
couple
some
of weeks.
time.
Yeah, it takes a couple of weeks to get back to normal. So, what happened to? I know you did some traveling, but we. So I think I have this adventure thing that's kicked into me in the last like couple of years where I want to go everywhere,
Yeah.
and I want to buy a camper and I want to just travel around the U.S. and maybe do podcasts and maybe just
Mhm.
see different things like the Grand Canyon or whatever. What happened to your adventure mode? Did you go anywhere? Did you do a little tour and see a bunch of people? I know you went to Evans. Did you go anywhere else?
I traveled quite a lot, the 2.5 months after competition. So I did do like 10 days in Connecticut, a little tour up there with a bunch of people. I did go to Las Vegas a couple times, I think, and worked with some people over there. I went to Florida a couple times. I was doing like Collab City. I had a
Yeah.
guest here. We filmed a music video in my gym.
Yep.
I did a lot. And then when it got closer to Black Friday, I had to pull back on that stuff because I had to focus on it's Black Friday.
The
It's
business.
business
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
It's a Super Bowl of business is what you're looking
Yeah.
at. And then now I'm in a phase where it's just post holiday season where I'm working on the developmental foundational phases of the upcoming product launches on the second half of the year, setting
For
that in motion
23.
before.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then I'll start doing more of the traveling again. But one thing I did was I bought one of those. I got one of those credit cards that have a what was it the American Airlines ones.
Oh, so it
And
has airline points or whatever.
yeah, when I made that my business card. But so we purchase stamps.com. We do all of our shipping, so it's like
Yeah.
$1,000, $1,000 because that's the limit before I have to repurchase
Yeah. Yeah.
shipping for fulfilling orders for my business. So it's just like I'm a fucking executive platinum in 1 month.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to the highest tier. So
That's a
it's like,
great idea.
oh my gosh, I was like, this is so cool. I get all these perks that normal people aren't able to do because they're not running a business that has that much like money goes through me, not
Yeah.
to me. It's
That's
just
right.
because you make X amount of money doesn't mean you made that
It's
money.
not
You know what I
profit.
mean?
Yeah. It's not profit. Yeah.
Correct. But
Yeah. The
fucking credit card.
credit card doesn't know that.
No, no, it doesn't. So I've been able to like max out my status on America Online. So now I'm like walking through there, like, why is this guy sitting in first class? It's like I run a business.
That's
This
so
is my
good.
business card. So that kind of coming back to the car thing, I was like, hey, if the airline travel is that much more comfortable for me and easier for
Yeah.
me now,
Yeah.
I can set that purchase aside later. Because my dad was, like, hey, if you don't want to buy the car and you still want something, why don't you get something in between? I was like, no, I want to get what I really want, and I
Yeah.
want something like that. But so I'm gonna wait a few more years until I feel like we'll see, you know what I mean? But I'm not
Yeah.
going to buy something. I stay out of the middle zone on a lot of things, Fuad. I don't know if you believe in this philosophy, but it's like I either buy the cheapest or buy the best. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I generally lean towards the best.
Yeah.
and only for one reason. It's not because I'm a snob or anything like that. My philosophy on life has changed dramatically in the last 3 to 5 years. I've had I've had some bad luck with people close to me passing.
Oh my, yeah.
So my philosophy on life has changed. So now I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to wait till I'm 50. I'm not going to wait till I'm 60. I'm not going to wait till I'm 70. If I want something, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
Even if it means I have a little bit of debt towards it, I don't care, because I feel like life's not guaranteed to us.
Mhm.
So if I want to own a Ferrari before I die and I have to use a little bit of debt to get it, then
Yeah.
I'm gonna get it, just so I can say, because I think everybody has a bucket list of some sort, whether they consciously have it or don't have it.
Mhm.
And on my bucket list is consciously to own a Ferrari. So it's something I want to do before, you know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah. Are you close to that?
no.
Let's see, why aren't you fine? Well, my next question is, how far away are you then?
I'd say a
Oh,
year or two.
years,
A
years.
year, a year or two. A year or two.
A year. Well, see, that's not, you can wait a year too. What I'm saying is, I'm not going to wait 20 years to see if I still want to buy a nicer car than
No,
my
no,
fucking Honda.
but the difference between me and you is, uh, you could afford the Navigator, but you're waiting. And whereas I feel like, and this is such a bad thought process, like to think this way, because, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm just like gung ho, blow my money everywhere, and I don't care, because I do have, like, my responsible side. But, like, the reason I buy a motorcycle, the reason I buy the Escalade is because I'm like, who knows when, right? So I
Yeah.
might as well enjoy life while I can. I think that's how my spending thought process works. But
Well,
anyway,
I also think it's respectful in the fact that you're comfortable doing that, because a lot of people, a lot of thriftiness isn't always
yeah,
admirable. A lot of it is from fear. And so if you're able to know that about yourself and have the insight to recognize it and even put words to it like you just have,
mm,
what you're basically saying is, I'm comfortable with the debt in this respect, and I'm comfortable making these purchases, even though X, Y, and Z, because of, you see what
yeah,
I'm saying? So
yeah.
it's respectable, is what I'm saying.
I also have this thing about life, and I don't know if I being a thrifty person, you probably don't feel this way, but I do know other people that feel this way. Um, I have this thing where I feel like if I put myself in a little bit of a hole, like
Huh?
if I am a little bit scared, I will work that much harder. So, like you said about the guy that is shopping for pennies between gas stations,
Yeah.
I feel like I want to buy the best gas, and that just means that I have to work harder. So
Yeah.
I almost like purchase the item to motivate me to push harder. Does that make sense?
It does. And I do something like that myself with the way I run my businesses. So
Yeah.
I don't keep very much money in my business accounts. My business accounts, I typically try to lock it up in product.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of product sitting on the shelves. But, what that means to me is, like, I look at the bank accounts like, well, it's not there to spend, you
Yeah,
know?
the product is your bank account. I got that same philosophy when it comes
It
to,
is,
yeah,
but
yeah,
to look at the product and go, this shit ain't gonna move unless I fucking post online. And it's been 4 days since I've fucking posted, but I don't
yeah,
feel like it, so I'll take a fifth day, because I'm over here doing my thing over here, developing this and that. I'm working on this stuff. But
yeah,
then, hey, when it's time, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And something's gonna happen where it's like, damn, I want to do the chair splits with fucking dangly weights above my head today. This is gonna be great. And then, it boosts views, and then it reflects in sales. So yeah, the product is there motivating me to, like, oh, I got to move that, you know what I mean? But
That's
I
right.
can't spend it. But when I make the money off of it, it comes back,
Yeah,
in spades, because obviously that's why you run business.
sure. Yeah, no,
It's
definitely.
to spend X to get Y in
Yeah,
return.
yeah.
So,
Juji, look, I've kept you on way longer than normal, but I really appreciate the conversation. We've touched on a lot of important topics and some, just fun topics, but this is exactly what I thought it would be. So I appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing some of your insights.
well, great. Thanks for having me. I have a lot of respect for you and your audience as well.
Thank you.
I know that you have people that listen and follow to you that actually know what the fuck is going on in bodybuilding, and they know a thing
Yeah.
or two. So I'm grateful that you have had me on, because you know it feels good, you know, to be accepted by this community, and I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you for the people listening as well. It's like, I know I'm not like a pro, and I'm not like, you know, I'm not like
Yeah.
this or that, but you know, I do have a lot of respect for bodybuilders. I have put myself through some competitions to understand them better, and I can tell you, like, it's a fucking brutal sport, and it's a cool place to be, and it's just
Yeah.
a fun lifestyle.
We're not only bodybuilders though. As I always say, is we're not just building bodies, but we're building character. And I think that's the beauty of having you on. Is not just, I didn't want to have you on just to like talk bodybuilding. I'm like, I knew you had a lot of things to offer as far as just your daily, the way you go approach life to me is very interesting. So I value that a lot. So thank you for coming on, Juji. It was great talking to you.
Thank you, Fouad.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Okay, bye now.
Okay, bye-bye.